So I want you to imagine that you are going on a hike with a friend and you get in the car, you have your bag packed, you have your water and your snacks and your sunscreen and your hat, you're all ready to go. And they drive you out into the mountains and this is someone you trust, you know well, so you feel good about it. And you're driving out into the mountains, and then you get there and you get out of the car and you're at the trailhead and there's a fork and there's like three or four different paths that you could take from this trailhead. And they say, "All right, which way do you want to go today?" And you're like, "Wait a second, I thought you knew where we were going today." And they're like, "Well, I do. I've been here before, but like, I just thought it'd be nice if you picked." And you're like, "Wait, but I don't know like which path is steep or treacherous or, I'm not maybe a very seasoned hiker." And like, this doesn't really instill a lot of confidence, right? In your friend or in your hiking abilities or their ability to plan something. But this is something that I see all the time with people and their horses, where we think we're being kind by including our horse in the conversation. But what we're really doing is we are robbing both ourselves and our horse of confidence. A lot of times I see people come out with their horse and they're not really steering the ship, and the horse isn't really steering the ship because the horse doesn't really want that much responsibility of steering the ship. And so nobody's steering the ship. And then the horse gets nervous and lacks confidence, which then makes the person lack confidence. And now both of them are feeding each other in their lack of confidence, and nobody's ever going to step up and be the leader. And so, what I think is really important about confidence is to know that, first of all, confidence comes from experience, and you're never going to get more confident if you don't just get out there and do the thing. That's the first thing, and have good experiences doing the thing, right? So don't just jump off the deep end into something that you've never done before, but get guidance, get support, find help doing the hard stuff. There we go. That's better. No more sun in my eyes. Um, but you have to go do the thing in order to get more confident. That's just the bottom line. The second thing about confidence that's really important is that confidence comes from being decisive. Decisive doesn't mean you have to be bossy or harsh or mean to your horse. You can totally, like if you like, let's go back to the hike analogy. If you're like out on a hike and you see, that your hiking partner is like really hungry and tired and whatever, you can be like, "Great, let's pivot. I wasn't planning on taking lunch for another 2 miles, but let's stop and do that now." Or, your hiking partner is really excited that day and really energized, and you're feeling good too. And you're like, "Let's go a little further than we had planned." You can pivot based on the feedback you're getting from your horse. But somebody has to be the one to make the decision, and somebody has to be the one to be the confident, secure leader. And not all horses are capable of doing that. Some are, and that's wonderful. And that's fantastic, especially if the person lacks confidence, to learn from a horse that has a lot of confidence, but not all horses do. And so, how do we learn as people to step into that role of the leader to break the cycle of making each other feel nervous accidentally, right? Somebody has to be the first to step out of that cycle. And so, how do we give you, as the human with the fully developed prefrontal cortex, the ability to do that? So, there are a couple things about that. So, one is that I think it's really helpful when you can toggle, both for humans and horses, between an exercise that you're really, really good at and that you can just kind of pat yourself and be like, "Oh, great, you wrote a circle. That's so nice." And then next, do an exercise that's really hard for you. So, like, let's pretend you're practicing, I don't know, your counter canter on a circle, right? So you might first like canter a couple circles and you're like, "Wow, I'm so good at this. That's great." And then you're going to try counter cantering a circle. And it's going to be really hard and it might be sloppy and it might not look nice. It might feel all over the place and disorganized. But if you can just get it done and then go back and do the easy thing again, now you've like checked the hard thing off your list and you boost your confidence by going back to something easy. So it's the same with our horses. When we're teaching our horse something new, first do something that they're really, really good at, praise them, tell them "Wow, you're so smart. I can't believe you can trot this circle so nicely," whatever. And then push them to do a harder thing. "Hi, Moonshine, are you ready to work?" And then once you've done that a couple times, you can toggle back and forth between hard and easy, hard and easy. And what you'll find is that your horse has a lot more tolerance for trying hard things, and they feel a lot more confident in themselves and their ability to learn and to try new hard things and to succeed there. And I think you'll find the same with yourself too. So today I'm going to be showing you my 3 fundamental groundwork exercises that I like to teach everybody, because I think it's really, really helpful for boosting. Well, I think they're the foundations of all groundwork that we do. I believe that this is it. This is, if you can do these, you can learn and grow and change and develop these into all of the different groundwork things that we do. But I'd like to show you these because I think no matter where you are with your groundwork journey, if you're starting and this is day 1, this is where you need to be. And if you are an advanced rider or advanced horseman, you can take these and push yourself to do them better, to make them even more refined and more specific to your horse and your goals and your needs, whatever. So these are what we're going to be working on today. And I am using Moonshine the pony. He sometimes has confidence and sometimes it just goes right out the window and he has no confidence. And especially as a kid's horse, he needs to be the confident one because the kid generally is not going to be the one to step up and set the example of being confident. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. Okay, I'm going to put the pony on the lead. I'm going to take him out in the middle back here. And I'm much more set up today for this video to be able to show you better camera angles. So hopefully we can maintain that. Okay, so, and I don't know how much of this Moonshine has actually done. I've done a little bit of this with him, but I think a lot of times with ponies, these things get skipped because people are like, oh, they're cute and it's just a little pony. It doesn't matter. It does matter. And we're going to do them right now. So the first one is asking his hind end to move. Now, the first thing you need to know about this is when you watch horses together, when they crowd each other like this is like snuggle cuddle time. Come here. He's not a very snuggly pony, so he's moving away from me. But generally, when horses are like right on top of each other like this is like affection time. When horses are asking each other to move, they're doing it from a distance and they're coming in with an intention of saying, I'm asking you to move now. So the first thing you need to do is get your intention straight between we're snuggling or I'm asking you to move. And make sure your body language is matching that intention. So right now I'm going to ask his hind end to move. I'm going to put my intention and my energy right about here on this nice cowlick. It's really easy to find on any horse. And I'm just going to make sure I'm coming from a little bit away. And I'm just going to come in. And just by adding my intention there, I'm going to ask that hind end to step around. Now, that's pretty good for Moonshine and for the amount of training that we've done with him with this. If this were my horse that I've been working with for years and years, I would like to see the front end completely pivot and drill a hole in the ground right there. And I would like to see that that hind end always crosses in front and under. Nice gut sounds, buddy. It's very hot here today in February, so it's like 90 degrees, so I'm very on guard about colic today. And do the same on this side. Just bringing the intention, making sure he's not walking forward. And this is also a really good way for your horse to boost their confidence in you because, again, this is like an attainable task that I'm going to keep asking until I get across. I know he can do that. You can also ask by swinging your rope. Good boy. Swinging your rope gives a little bit more oomph, but I find a lot of people when they're first starting out, adding this is just too much to think about and it's just too much coordination. I know it seems so simple, but when you're already thinking about 6 other things, adding this, you just end up kind of like with spaghetti and getting tangled up in yourself. So don't swing the rope if it doesn't feel easy. You can also use a stick or a whip or something else as an arm extension. I find that sometimes it's easier than actually swinging the rope, but all those tools are good and helpful. Okay, we're going to do the shoulders next. So that's the first one, is moving the hind end. And different sports and different horses, you might do this differently. Like with my English horses, I actually prefer to see, I haven't done this with Moonshine, so let's see if he can do it. More at a walk, good boy. And see that hind end crossing under his body while circling around me. I'd even like to see him there, good boy. While keeping forward, stepping that hind end all the way under and actually engaging his top line. Good boy, that was better. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in my English horses, and my Western horses is just a pivot. So either is fine. You're not going to mess up your horse by doing the wrong one, but depending on your sport, you may choose to kind of hone in on one or the other. And, oh, I almost forgot. After you do that hind end, it's really good to come back to the snuggle mode and give him pats and scratches, both sides, because then sometimes what happens when I see people practice this a lot is they come back here to get on their horse and their horse starts spinning away from them and they can never get on. So make sure you're also making sure that your horse knows the difference between you're asking that hind end to move and when you're just hanging out. Okay, cool. So now we're going to try the shoulder. So for the shoulder, I like to ask the head to turn away from me a little bit. You can do this with the head towards you, but I find it's easier to learn if the head's away from you a little bit. And then we're just going to go for this shoulder crease right here. It's hard to see from this angle. Let's move them over a little bit. So this shoulder crease right here is where I'm going to be putting my intention and my pressure. And again, I'm not right on top of him. I'm staying a little further away. And I'm just going to make sure he doesn't try to walk forward. I'm asking that front leg, good boy, to reach around and cross in front of the opposite leg. Going behind, there's going in front, good boy. And then I'm always going to make sure I pat and tell him he's a good boy. Again, boosting his confidence and letting him know that I'm not always asking him to move when good boy, that one was better. And the more we do this, the softer it gets, where you can just almost think about turning your horse when they turn. Good boy. And get that leg to cross in front. Now, once you've done this a few times, you can get a little bit more creative with these. So I might actually ask him now, good boy, to cross behind, just for fun. You can be really specific with, like, can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the left hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forward and under? Can I get the right hind to step forw to step back and away. Like, you can play with getting really, really specific, and that's where the more advanced levels come in. But when you're first starting out, just practice getting that hind end to move without moving the front end, and getting the front end to move without moving the hind end. Okay, and then the third exercise is just getting your horse to back up. So there's a few different ways I like to teach this. One that I see a lot of online trainers teaching is the rope wiggle. So you stand in front of your horse. Let me see if I can turn around here. Turn him this way. It's a little better angle. Okay. So stand in front of my horse and I just wiggle the rope like this till he goes backwards. I don't like to teach this one to most of my horses. I teach this to my personal horses because I think it is really nice when you're like in a tight space or in a trailer and you get into the place where you just kind of boop boop and they back up. That's really, really nice. However, with my school horses, because I have a lot of kids that go like this when they're playing with the horses, I don't want the horse thinking that that always means go backwards. And also with a lot of my young horses, I find if I do this, it makes them kind of head shy. And so I'm not going to be doing that with Moonshine, but you will see that with a lot of online trainers. I just don't think it's good for every horse. I do think it's good for some, but I don't think it's good for all of them. So I'm not going to be teaching you that method here, just to answer that question in advance. Then we have the method where you just back, bump, bump. This one I think is really good because it does teach them to give to face pressure. And the important thing here is that after every time they take a step back, you give a little bit with your hand, and you can just give and take until you get as many steps as you want. And you can do that both the way I just did there, as well as this way. Well, every time he takes a step back, I'm just giving a little bit to let him know that was the right move. The other one I really like to use is right in here between their pec and their shoulder. You can see your little cowlick right there if you maybe zoom in enough. There's a little pressure point that if you push there, sometimes you have to really push. Okay, actually, I should do the leg that's forward. So I'm going to come over here. Should be able to do this on both sides. I have not done this with Moonshine before. Back, back. Come on, buddy. I'm really pushing here. Back, back. Good boy. And then I'm just going to immediately take the pressure off as soon as he goes backwards. Try that again from this side. Back. And this, in theory, is one that no matter what kind of training your horse has, they will go backwards if you push there long enough and hard enough. He's kind of dull because, again, he's a kid's pony. So we want him kind of dull. We don't want him thinking that every little action means something, because that would be not a nice life for him if he's like reading into every single movement that every single kid does when they're around him. Kids are very unpredictable. We want him a little bit dull. It's going to be a better life for him that way. But this would be a nice one for him to be able to back up because especially, actually, I used to have a kid's pony. Totally forgot about this. But I could, because this is such a quiet secret one, if I could just walk up here and put my hand here and just touch a little bit, she would go backwards. And the kids would think that they were backing up the pony, which was really cool because I could teach them the mechanics and I could actually be in charge of the pony, which was really cool. So there's 3 exercises for you to work on that will help you to boost your confidence with groundwork, get you started if you haven't done any groundwork before, help you advance if you have done groundwork before. Where's my shade? There we go. And I just think those are all really, really good things to be working on, to be practicing with your horses. No matter how good of a rider you are, how good of a horseman you are, this is a really good place to start. And just remember, you're never going to get more confident if you don't just go out and do the hard thing. So that is my encouragement to you. Be safe. Don't, set yourself up for a good experience, confidence boosting experience. But like if you're nervous about cantering, find a really, really safe horse and just go canter a bunch of circles around a round pen, or have a friend put you on a lunge line and canter you around on the lunge line. But you have to just do the thing. It never gets there's no magic pill here. There's no way you can work around actually doing the thing you're afraid of. So that's my encouragement. Find a safe way to go do the thing you're worried about and have a great time and enjoy your horses. Make sure to hug them for me.